A lawyer for embattled Senate candidate Roy Moore has raised questions about evidence provided by a woman who claims he sexually assaulted her as a teen. Beverly Young Nelson showed Mr. Moore's purported signature and message in her high school yearbook as proof of his alleged interest in her. His lawyer cast doubt on the signature and called on Mrs. Nelson to release the yearbook for handwriting examination. 6 women have come forward to accuse Mr. Moore of sexual misconduct. Many of the women accuse him of initiating sexual contact while they were teenage girls. The 70-year-old former Alabama Supreme Court judge has flatly denied the claims. Mr. Moore's lawyer, Philip Jauregui, told reporters on Wednesday the allegations against his client were incredibly painful and suggested his 5th accuser had altered the judge's signature in her yearbook. Was it written by somebody else? Mr. Jauregui asked, before urging Mrs. Nelson's lawyer, Gloria Allred, to release the yearbook to a neutral custodian to analyze the handwriting. He claimed the handwriting was different from the judge's signature. The yearbook message reads, "To a sweeter, more beautiful girl I could not say Merry Christmas. Christmas 1977. Love, Roy Moore, DA December 22, 1977 Oldie Hickory House." Mrs. Nelson said she was 16 years old and working as a waitress at the Oldie Hickory House when Mr. Moore, who was 30 at the time, allegedly wrote the message. She claims he tried to force himself on her about a week later. Her account followed a Washington Post report quoting 4 women by name, including one who alleged Mr. Moore initiated sexual contact with her when she was 14, beneath the legal age of consent in Alabama, while he was a prosecutor in his 30s. The news conference came as a 6th woman accused Mr. Moore of sexual misconduct, alleging that he groped her in his office when she was 28 years old. U.S. President Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, strongly condemned Mr. Moore to the Associated Press news agency on Wednesday. "There's a special place in hell for people who prey on children," she said. "I've yet to see a valid explanation from Moore, and I have no reason to doubt the victims' accounts." President Trump has yet to publicly comment on the controversy while several prominent Republicans have called on him to step aside in the Senate race. Mr. Jauregui on Wednesday disputed Mrs. Nelson's claim that she did not have contact with Mr. Moore after the alleged 1977 incident. He said the judge presided over Mrs. Nelson's divorce in 1999 and suggested she lifted his signature from her court documents from the case. Mr. Moore had no recollection of signing DA after his name, but had an assistant with those initials at the time of Mrs. Nelson's divorce who would have stamped it on court filings, Mr. Jauregui said. Mr. Moore, an outspoken Christian conservative, had been a heavy favorite to win the 12th of December election against Democrat Doug Jones.